One of the most disturbing stories in the past several years is the Gucci heiress suing her mother, of all people. For quite some time, Gucci was associated with success and a luxury lifestyle, though now the Gucci family and the Gucci brand are two completely different things. The Gucci family has, if we're to believe this woman, a lot of dark secrets in their closets, and currently one more is being added to its collection.
I'm filing a lawsuit against my stepfather, mother.
The story we're about to go through is about Alexandra Zerini, Joseph Ruffalo, Patricia Gucci, Victoria Gucci, and Bruno Palumbo to some extent. Before diving right into the conflict, let's get into the main characters a bit. Bruno Palumbo was a mistress of Aldo Gucci, son of the founder of the Gucci brand. As a result of their somewhat forbidden love, Patricia was born. Patricia and Bruno were living in England and had occasional attention from Aldo once a month when he was coming to England on long weekends. Aldo was keeping his second family with his bastard son and Bruno a secret from his real wife, Olwen, who was living with him in Italy along with their 3 sons. When Patricia was studying at school, Aldo acknowledged her and planned to integrate her into the family business. Patricia Gucci is the sole heir of Aldo Gucci and the first woman to get a seat on the company board when she was only 19 years old. Then she was named to be a creative director of Gucci, but left the company around 1980 before being married to Joseph Ruffalo. She was married to a man named Santino in 1985, and Aldo even walked her down the aisle. She has 3 children, daughters Alexandra, Victoria, and Isabella. She married Joseph Ruffalo around 1992, but they divorced in 2007 after these abuse claims. Joseph Ruffalo has a very secretive life, and there's not much to tell about his personal life, which he might have hidden for security reasons. However, we can state for sure that he was married to Patricia Gucci, had a child, Isabella Gucci Ruffalo, and is accused of abuse by Alexandra Zerini. Victoria Gucci is one of the 3 daughters of Patricia Gucci. She's a successful blogger, and she's one of the sisters that was allegedly abused by Joseph Ruffalo. Alexandra Zerini is the founder and board chair of the Alexandra Gucci Children's Foundation, which advocates for the protection of children around the world. Also, she accused her stepfather of assaulting her as well as her younger sister. In addition, she accused her mother and grandmother of being distant from this situation and continuously telling her to keep quiet and threatened to remove her from the inheritance.
I'm filing a lawsuit against my stepfather, mother.
It's quite unfortunate when your child has experienced an abuse like this and tells you about it. It's a very serious claim that should be received with great caution and attention, but certainly not with threats to disinherit and a general disbelief. Alexandra Zerini claimed that she and her younger sister Victoria were victims of abuse from their stepfather, Joseph Ruffalo, for 16 years. Alexandra told and filed in the lawsuit that the abuse had started when she was around 4 to 6 years old. Her mother flew Alexandra and Victoria to California, where Patricia married Joseph and got pregnant with Isabella. Whenever Alexandra would have a bad dream or nightmare, or she wanted the comfort of her mother on account of Aldo's death, she sought comfort in her mother's bed where Joseph was also sleeping. While seeking refuge and some warmth from her mother, Alexandra would often find herself in the morning having her tiny hands on Joseph. As Alexandra grew older and began her transformation into a teenager, the deviated interest in Mr. Ruffalo escalated. It seemed that it wasn't enough for him to have her lay by his side and his wife's side in their bed, but he preferred to be a frequent guest in her room at night. As she stated in the lawsuit, defendant Ruffalo would remove his bathrobe so he was completely naked and climb into bed with plaintiff. Plaintiff would lie stiffly as he reached under plaintiff's clothes to touch plaintiff. In some cases, that wasn't enough for him, and he would have tried to penetrate her using his hands. Alexandra stated that her mother Patricia would hit her and try to strangle her. We can only assume that she wasn't thinking clearly, but if Patricia was abusing her own daughter while thinking clearly, this is a monstrous act. While those situations were occurring, Joseph would come and supposedly protect Alexandra from her mother, so that later, while being a quote-unquote knight in shining armor, he could intimidate her more with the abuse, which he felt he had the right to do so, allegedly. Someone would think that the grandmother would do something to prevent a situation, but as far as Alexandra's claims, when she was around 16 years old, Bruna asked her whether Joseph was doing these things to her. When Alexandra admitted that, her grandmother stiffened and became obviously uncomfortable and advised her to keep everything as secret and not tell anyone about the assaults. There's more to it. Not only the grandmother wanted to keep everything quiet, but she and Patricia would groom Alexandra and allow Joseph to make videotapes of her while she was in the bathroom. With warnings to be quiet about everything, Bruno and Patricia added repeated threats to forget about the situation, or Alexandra would be stripped of the family money. Alexandra caught a break from the assaults when she was studying in boarding school. Still, being far from her alleged abuser, she developed some mental issues, such as being close to being obsessed with constantly showering and bathing, trying to clean her skin till it became red, pulling out her hair, and even trying to take her life while studying in England. Unfortunately, soon enough, Patricia ordered her to return to California and continue to coexist with her and her stepfather, and she alleges that the assaults continued. Moreover, Joseph suggested Alexandra start taking drugs so that the feelings that she got while being abused would be tolerable, and she used cocaine and crystal meth. For some time, Alexandra had found the power inside herself to tell her mother what had been happening, but she specifically instructed her to remain silent. And also something close to the lines of, "You'll be on trial, you'll be interrogated, you won't get a good job, there will be stigma, it'll tarnish our reputation. Oh, and you were on drugs, so no one will believe you." Luckily, her drug issues were addressed and she was admitted to a rehab program in Tucson and worked with numerous therapists who helped her to get an understanding of what was happening to her.
I'm filing a lawsuit against my stepfather, mother.
There could be a multitude of different reasons why Patricia was indifferent to the fate of her own daughter, none justified. While most of them are unknown to us, we'll focus on those that are being discovered during the lawsuit. As Alexandra states, her mother entrusted some money to the music management company that was owned by Joseph, as well as she was worried about how information about the abuse would affect the way she was seen in the public eye and influence that it would have on her new business, a luxury luggage line that she founded in 2019. "I always suspected Ruffalo was holding something over my mother in exchange for her silence. Her father, Aldo Gucci, went to prison for tax evasion. It has become clear to me that her fear of facing the same fate may have guided her decision to stay quiet." In addition, it became evident that Joseph Ruffalo did write a letter to Patricia and Bruna in 2020 in which he stated, "If this suit moves forward, and it will if something is not done to stop it, damage will extend beyond the obvious, and issues could arise that would seriously affect your entire estate. There is a tax issue you may feel free from, but it is definitely not the case." So it's safe to say that Patricia had chosen the protection of the Gucci name over supporting her own daughter, instead of losing millions to help stand her ground.
I'm filing a lawsuit against my stepfather, mother.
While the abuse happened a while ago, it might be unclear to some why Alexandra Zerini decided to proceed with a lawsuit now. A lot of events happened in favor of Alexandra, so she decided that it was time to reveal this skeleton. The first reason was a change in California law which allowed victims of childhood to get more time to report allegations and finally file a suit. This change opened a 3-year window from 2020 to 2023 to report any old charges. Previously, it was allowed to report abuse that happened no later than 8 years from the moment the person reached adulthood, or in a 3-year time after the adult victim identified the abuse. The next was the birth of her first child, and the last was the fact that Mr. Ruffalo was allegedly seen volunteering in a children's hospital in LA. So in 2019, Alexandra filed a report with the Beverly Hills Police Department that stated that she experienced abuse by Mr. Ruffalo, and it mentions the fact that it's quite possible that he would want to hurt other children as well. The Beverly Hills Police Department verified the existence of the report and stated the file was still open. It's worth mentioning that Alexandra hired lawyers from Jeff Anderson and Associates firm, the founder of which became popular because of the prosecution cases about the abuses conducted by the Catholic Church. While it's impossible to find any information on behalf of Joseph Ruffalo and his side of the story, there is a statement from his lawyer, Richard P. Crane Jr., who stated, "My client has not been served and has not read the complaint. Therefore, he is not aware of all of the allegations that the complaint contains. What he has been informed of, he vehemently and categorically denies." While married to Alexandra's mother, Mr. Ruffalo and his wife were greatly concerned about the mental well-being of Alexandra and took steps to address her instability. Apparently, their efforts failed. Despite the fact that this lawsuit drew a lot of attention to participants, Alexandra stated that it was not her intention to be in the limelight or gain money. However, she fully acknowledges that her name would be tarnished by the public in spite of all information about the abuse. In addition, she mentioned that when she told Patricia and Bruna that she would go through and file a suit, they presented her with a threat to be cast out from the family, left without inheritance, and nobody from the family would contact her again.
I'm filing a lawsuit against my stepfather, mother.
Patricia Gucci commented on the lawsuit against her by stating, "I'm deeply sorry for the pain Joseph Ruffalo caused Alexandra. What he did to her is inexcusable, and I was devastated when she disclosed everything to me at our family doctor's office in London in September 2007. I immediately initiated divorce proceedings against Mr. Ruffalo and set about healing my family through counseling. I'm equally devastated by the allegations against me and her grandmother, which are completely false." As a response to the lawsuit filed against her and Bruna, they filed a motion to quash service of summons, in which it was clearly stated that both women were unaware that Joseph was doing this to Alexandra till the moment when she was 22 years old and reported to them what was actually happening. As well, it was stated that all injuries that Alexandra had ever experienced were from the actions of Mr. Ruffalo, not anyone else. In the same suit, Alexandra's younger sister, Victoria Gucci, was mentioned as another victim that was done by Joseph. In addition, in the response, there are lines that state that Alexandra allegedly told her younger sister that they must never tell anyone, and particularly not their mother, about the abuse. Speaking about Victoria, she said that the allegations were true, the younger sister, and she as well as Alexandra were abused by Mr. Ruffalo. But as Alexandra was driven by serving justice, Victoria didn't share the same wishes and didn't want to be a part of her sister's lawsuit. "I did not want to publicly expose my trauma to the world, and I want to move on with my life. We knew that the family name would attract attention. The decision to keep silent was to protect us from public spectacle and scrutiny." The reason why Victoria's name was used as part of her mother's lawsuit against Alexandra was that she didn't know about her sister's intentions to pursue legal action against Patricia and Bruna. Despite the fact that she didn't want to live traumatic events once again, she said, "If I am asked to testify, I am prepared to do so. As hard as it will be for me to have to relive it all over again, I will do what is necessary."
I'm filing a lawsuit against my stepfather, mother.
The companies under Kering, Balenciaga as well as other companies that have been in the crosshairs of many people and many controversies within the past months, Gucci's just another. And Alexandra Zarini's true desire is to help other children who've been suffering from abuse through her nonprofit organization, which she named Alexandra Gucci Children's Foundation. This is a case which seems monumental, but has very little attention surrounding it. And although she never wore any clothes from Gucci and didn't own anything aside from a small handbag that was gifted by her mother when she was 17, she still used the Gucci name for her foundation. The only thing I would use the name for is something good. Ms. Zarini wanted to deal with this long-term experience that she got as part of her past, as well as wanting to save any other child from the same fate that she was dealt. To insinuate that I am to blame for the abuse perpetrated by Patricia's ex-husband on my little sister when I myself was abused demonstrates a deep misunderstanding of the trauma and the psychological effects of abuse on a young child. The case is still ongoing.